And thank you very much for giving the opportunity to discuss it, because as of hot off the press, as of yesterday, the EPP has appointed me the rapporteur, so the main file writer for generation renewal. The European Commission, via the Commissioner for Agriculture, Christoph Hansen, launched his own version of generation renewal last October. We know Minister Martin Hayden also did from an Irish standpoint. Member states are being asked to also propose their ideas, but from a Parliament standpoint, I'll be leading out the negotiations, working with colleagues right across the House to ultimately put a stamp on where we see and where we want young farmers and the supports that they need, not just for the next couple of years of this next Common Agricultural Policy, but for years and years to come. We know we have a problem. We know we have issues. Young people have consistently told us, I'm one of them, access to land, sustainable succession planning, visibility around women in farming, mental health or farm relief services. We're looking at better rates from the EIB. I know they launched $3 billion of an investment opportunity for young farmers a number of years ago, but how actually is that working? Because when I speak to farmers right across Midlands, Northwest, and indeed across Europe, they're consistently saying we don't have enough front-loaded money to get off the ground. If you look at even our land mobility service, how can we expand on that? So there's a lot of opportunity to literally put our parliamentarian stamp on that, but we represent citizens. So as a rapporteur, I'll be leaning out to our Irish farmers, specifically MOCRA, and other farm organisations, but MOCRA have such a close hand to this as being our young representative for not just farmers but also rural dwellers and people who feed off the land but might not work on it on a full-time basis. All of those voices need to be heard in Ireland and across the EU, so I'm delighted. But one thing we will be pushing for, the Commissioner Hansen's Generation Renewal report had said 3 to 6% of ring fence funding for the next CAP. This is a short-term goal, is needed. I mean, I'll be pushing beyond that. And sadly, what we're not seeing in his proposal is it being binding. It has to be ring fenced. Otherwise, you have member states like Ireland that will not prioritise generation renewal. And we can keep talking about it, but if we are not bold enough to make those decisions and ring fence that money in order to balance the scales of what farmers are and how the succession is working, then what are we doing here? And I think of, the average age of our Irish farmers is 58. I would actually challenge that and say it's older. Less than 12% of land holdings in Europe is held by an under 35-year-old. That's not good enough. And if we're talking about being competitive, then we need to put our money where our mouth is and make sure young farmers are supported in that.
And when you say ring fence there and binding at an EU level, is that because you are concerned that it won't be made a priority at national government level?
Yeah, I mean, I know you covered Brussels, and I know you've been here in Strasbourg, and I couldn't be the first MEP to tell you that there's a number of challenges on the Common Agricultural Policy and the EU pot of money as a whole, so the MFF. But if we look at the CAP in the next round, the 300 billion single farm payment is protected. But actually, what does the other funding streams look like? So like that, the ring fence funding for young farmers, young female farmers, Ireland and Spain in the last CAP were the leaders in terms of ring fence for TAMs for young female farmers, which kind of was a carrot and stick, I always called it, to say how we can get more younger females involved, and landholders or farmers, or I should say fathers or mothers, looked to their daughter as an option to take over the farm too. If we didn't have those type of mechanisms, then nothing would have changed. So where I want with this generation renewal file is to make sure we're as bold as that and really applying pressure to that binding mechanism, because like I said, we can continue to talk about it, but if we're not putting money aside for young farmers, the member states will design and decide what they wish. And that's not good enough if we're going to have a balanced, competitive sector across the EU.